Hi, everyone. I promised a while back that I was going to give you little teasers of um, my story of my life, like a biography. Um, I am planning on adding this to another site, and I'll let you know that site once I get it all set up, um, which will be soon. Uh, because I am lazy and I don't want to have to write it down. So instead of writing it, I am videographing it, and I will be recording my story to share with everyone. Um, Probably on Patreon, and um, I will have it also on my website that I'm working on. I'm hoping to get my website up soon. And as soon as I do, I'll give you my address so you can go there. Um, I've got so much in the works. Yeah. Um, and sometimes because of the fibromyalgia and the MS, my brain doesn't work real well. So on days that it's working fine, like today, I have so much to do, and it just seems kind of overwhelming. But these are the days that I can actually get something done, and I need to do it. So today I'm working on these things, some of them. I have a whole list, as you could imagine. Um, so my story is um, I think the title I'm going to give it is Hard Lessons Learned, because I was raised by a very controlling narcissistic mother and a weak father who went along with whatever my mother told him he should do, even to the point of beating me up a couple of times. Um, and he even went with her to the school to cause trouble for me. He went with her to my attorney's office at one time to cause trouble for me. He went with her to talk to the minister to cause trouble for me. Um, the family, I mean, uh, my whole life, my whole family has thought that I was against my mother, which I wasn't. I kissed her butt so hard and just did anything and everything to try to get that woman to love me and to care about me. And um, as a narcissist, my parents had three children, and my sister was like the throwaway child. She was the first one. And by the time I was born, she was 6 years old, and she was already spending the majority of her time staying with friends and relatives, and I hardly ever saw her. Um, but she was happy bouncing from house to house, and my parents were happy not having to put up with her. Um, then I came along and I was the scapegoat, um, blamed for everything. Every time my mother wanted attention or needed some narcissistic fodder, I was the one that, you know, that was abused and mistreated, and um, blamed for everything, expected to fix everything, even though some things were so far above my age and abilities. There was no way I could fix those things. But my parents would come to me, my mother especially, and blame me and expect that I was going to fix it. And if I didn't, I was a horrible person. And if I did, I was still a horrible person because I did something she couldn't do. Um, and my parents, I'll give you the beginning, kind of. My mother was 13 and my father was 21 when they first met. My aunt and uncle, my mother's sister, and my father's brother were dating and eventually got married. My father, the minute he laid eyes on this 13-year-old girl, he was in love with her. And he knew that she was supposedly a problem child, that she had mental problems. But that didn't matter to him. In fact, that made him even more want to protect her and save her. By the time she was a freshman, she was having so many problems with other people at school, etc., that she quit school and stayed home, supposedly to help her mother with her grandmother. Although, from what I've heard, she didn't really help. She was just, a problem, constantly having to create drama and um, just a real handful, I guess. So her family took her to a psychiatrist, and they decided that once she turned 18, because before she turned 18, the state of Wisconsin would not put her into a mental institution. But once she turned 18, they would put her into an institution and she would become a ward of the state. So they had started the ball rolling, and they had a hospital, Mendota, Wisconsin hospital, where they were going to send her, and they had everything lined up for her. But of course, like I said, my father had met her when she was 13. And in the meantime, he went over to Japan for World War II. He came back. He had his own business with his brother, the one who was married to my mother's sister. And so he got to see a lot of my mother. Um, and she had made comments here and there that he wasn't really the guy she wanted to marry, but he was her only way out, that she didn't have to go to a mental institution, and that she could get married and live on her own and be free. And he was, what was he by that time? 26 years old, head over heels for an 18-year-old. Um, so she turned 18 in September, and they got married 1 month and 2 days after she turned 18. She lied to him about her period so she could get out of having to have sex with him for almost a month. And then I guess he had mentioned something to his brother, who said, she's lying to you, she's full of shit. If that's the case, then you better take her to the doctor, because there is something wrong with her. And so she finally relented and consummated their marriage. But like I said, she really didn't want to be married to him. She just wanted to be out of the house and have her freedom. So she did finally give in to my father, and they consummated the marriage. Um, 1 year, they got married in October of 53. In November of 54, my sister was born. Knowing that my mother had mental problems so bad that they were going to put her into an institution, my father went ahead and had children with her. It's just beyond me why. Why? But he was weak, and he wanted what he wanted, and he did what he did, and that was it. So I don't know a whole lot about my sister and her life. Not much at all, really, because, like I said, I was born when she was 6 years old, and by that time, she was already going to stay with friends and relatives, and she was hardly ever home. And so, I didn't really know my sister. Um, the year before I was born, for my sister's birthday, she was 5, and she told my mother, next year, for my birthday, you're going to give me a little sister. And my mother just laughed at her. But 2 days before my sister's birthday, I was born. um, my sister, I guess, was like 7 pounds, 8 ounces, or something like that. When I was born, I was 9 pounds, 2.5 ounces. But my mother said I was a very easy birth. Um, it only took a couple of hours. When I was born, I suspect that even before I was born, I was a scapegoat. I was the chosen one. um, because the day that my mother went into labor with me, it was about noon, that she contacted my grandpa and told him that she had gone into labor and she needed him to take her the 4 miles to the hospital. So he did. And he said, well, I'll go back and call your husband. And she said, no, I don't want you to call him. It's going to be a while anyway. Don't worry about it. Just, he can come when he's done work, after he's had dinner. Make sure he gets dinner first, and then he can come. And she had me at 6:23 p.m. My father had finished work. He got home about around 6:15, somewhere in there. And they called the hospital, and they wouldn't really tell him anything. They said she was fine, and you know. So my father ate dinner, and then he went to the hospital. And as he was coming into the hospital, the nurses congratulated him on a baby girl. And he said, "Really? I didn't know that she had the baby yet. I just talked to her." And they said, "Yeah, she had the baby about half an hour, 45 minutes ago." And so they took him to the nursery first because that was on the way to see my mom. And so he stopped by and was looking at me and spending a little time looking at me through the glass. And I guess he asked her if they could have the nurses bring me into the room, and she did. "I'm too tired. I just had a baby. I don't want to be bothered with the baby." So she left me in the nursery, and from the sounds of it, she left me in the nursery the whole time that she was there, which was almost a week. And when she brought me home, she, kept saying how tired she was and how sore she was, and just, making sure that other people, my grandmother and grandfather and aunt, would come and take care of her and help her out. So they did, and they helped her for a good month or more. And when I was probably 6 years old, my mother told me what a nasty brat I was when I was 2 months. And I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "Well, when you were 2 months, all you would do was cry and scream and holler, and your aunt and grandma and everybody had to take you and take care of you. You wouldn't let me near you. You were just so nasty and so hard to deal with and get along with that, all you would do was scream. If anybody else took care of you, you were just fine. But the minute I'd get near you, you would just scream." And even at that age, I was smart enough to think, what did this woman do to a 2-month-old baby to make me deathly afraid of my own mother? What did she do to me? I have no idea, of course. I don't know. But I do know that for a couple of months, I wouldn't let my mother near me. So every day, someone had to show up when Dad would go to work and be there to take care of me. And it was all my fault, a 2-month-old baby, and it was my fault. Narcissism much? Or, my mother would never share her diagnosis, though I'm pretty positive that she had the same diagnosis as my daughter, which was bipolar and narcissism. But my mother would never get treated. She would never go in to the doctors because she didn't want to be on medication. She was scared they were going to put her in a mental institution, and she absolutely would not go and get any help. She wouldn't admit she needed any help, and yet she had a 2-month-old baby who screamed and hollered every time she would get near me. So anyway, that's the beginning of my life. And I have so many stories about things that happened with my mother and with other people as well. Like I said, hard lessons learned. But through those lessons, I was able to become the person who I am today. And it was a very long and arduous road, but I'm very happy to be me, and I love everybody. I have forgiven everybody. I have learned so much about people and their nature and how difficult life can be and how twisted um, people can be. So I have a whole lot more to share with you, and I hope you come back for more, and I will let you know as soon as I get my book page started and as soon as I get um, my website up. I hope it's soon. Blessings, love, and light to you and yours. Have a wonderful evening. Goodbye.